Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for our Advanced Authentication webinar. My name is Alicia Schmitz. I'm a CCD employee. I'm one of the field account representatives. And I want to just get started here. I want to take a quick opportunity before we begin to give you a little bit about who CCD is and what we do for those of you who don't know. CCD is a full IT service providing company. We've been in business for 24 years. We handle everything from hardware, software, to IT services, which can include anything up to service projects, managed services, all those kinds of things. And one of the big ones that we've seen a lot on our radar recently has been cloud computing and the mobility factor, which kind of plays into how we're able to come together and partner and bring you a full solution here at CCD. We handle everything from procurement to actually being able to roll out and help you implement your plans and current architectural designs. We're not just a one-stop shop. We like to think of ourselves as a full circle or the full wheel when it comes to IT solutions. And our partnerships with you guys and our current customers is what allows us to really enable and empower you to be your company's IT superhero. And that's what we strive to do on a day-to-day basis in educating you, which leads us to webinars like these. And I want to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker, John Hermanson. He's one of CCD's sales engineers. He's been in the business for over 27 years, and he's held many different roles, which gives him a great knowledge and understanding of what it means to have a fully functioning IT environment. As he's played on both the end user side, he has worked as a consultant with resellers. He's even worked for a large manufacturing company. Some of you might recognize the name as Cisco. But most recently, John has focused the last 4 to 5 years on specifically educating himself and customers when it comes to their security and what that means to their environment. And so, John, I'm going to turn this over to you. You can move forward with today's webinar. And again, thank you for joining. And John? Oh, one more thing. I apologize. During the presentation and webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them up in the Q&A area. We will answer everything at the end. All right, now, John, you can go ahead and
Thank you so much, Alicia. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We try to be topical, and as Alicia had stated earlier, the one thing that is kind of top of mind on a lot of customers that I've been working with, not just in the past 4 or 5 years, but especially in the last 2 years, is security. That being physical security, such as not allowing somebody to come into your location and be able to get into your systems that way, or by hacking into yours and doing cybersecurity or cyber hacking, or even just being able to make sure that just something as benign as a virus or some other type of intrusion does not happen, even if it's not malicious, within your systems. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the methods of authentication, the ease of adoption, compliance and regulations. A lot of you might be out there that have HIPAA or CGIS or some other type, PCI type compliance issues that you have to pass audits with to be able to do your business. Talking about unavailable solutions, a lot of times the first thing people say is, well, I looked at this one solution. Well, I typically work with about 14 different types of authentication methods, and it's really what's the best for you. And lastly, what I'm going to talk about is the efficiencies of not only being secure, but also the advantages of single sign-on, where not just your username and password to get into your device is going to be cached and be able to be protected, but also the passwords within your systems that you use day to day. So let's get started. I'd like to call this Lessons from the Field because I have had many opportunities with many different environments to be able to actually see different ways that our work, don't work, proof of concepts, within especially different verticals and which ones actually work the best, understanding what types of threats could potentially be out there. Because as we're going to be talking, there's a lot of different areas where people would like to hack, okay? You see up here like the Target, Neiman Marcus. Just recently I saw on the news last night where they're having a Senate Oversight Committee on how the Department of Defense lost almost all the information with soldiers and including special operations people within the field, and they don't even know 100% who hacked them, but it's, over 1 million people, which really puts some people actually in danger physically with that. The one thing that I like to, first of all, recognize is the hacker in themselves. There's very different, I guess, reasons why people hack. Some are going to be able to go into like a Target and specifically target them. Target them to be hacked to get credit card information, or the government for employee information. But a lot of the times what you have is rogue hackers that are in Eastern Europe, for instance, because there's no extradition treaty, so they can't be brought to justice in most cases, and they're just out there trolling to see if a computer is open or if it's vulnerable. And a lot of times that's where you get it, like your homes or other places. And the thing is that you have your security for your home, but you have to also be secure at your office. And a lot of times we're very in tune to what we are doing at home. You go into your mortgage, you go, bank accounts, mortgages, you have to use username and password, but also your mother's maiden name, potentially the name of your dog or whatever. Right there, when you're doing that, you're already using two-factor or advanced authentication methods to protect your data. And that is called risk-based authentication. The lowest level, but it's at least another roadblock to potentially, protect your information. And then you can be able to use those also nowadays with a smartphone, a computer app. There's even tokens and such for higher-end mortgage companies for commercial real estate that you're able to locate and be able to get into all your information from the road on a guest computer or a hotel computer, because you have a specialized device that only you have in your possession that you can be able to utilize the authentication. Said before, is your workplace a target? I always like to pretty much bring up that your workplace most likely has already been a target. They estimate that 80% of companies have at least had their environment trying to be hacked. And a lot of times these hackers, like I said previously, these hackers will go into an open device that they were able to troll, and they're not sure what they have. So they're going to put things on like key bloggers. They're going to put in stuff that's going to take a look at what you're doing. Or they're going to determine what type of device this is relatively quickly and relatively quietly. So unless you have things, some advanced security, they can sit in there for days, weeks, or years. And a lot of times with these big hacks that you see, they've been there for a long time and just quietly been able to get deeper and deeper into the network. But other times, if they find that you're a small business, for instance, you've all heard of that new hack that basically locks up your computer, and you then have to give them a prepaid debit card, a couple $100 or whatever, to free up your own information. And because it's over in certain areas that we can't do anything about it, well, do you want to lose all of your books, as being a donut shop, or your grade books being a school district? A lot of times, even the FBI and the government will say, just pay them. So they cost your business or school or entity time and money. When you're at your home, you are relying on yourself to do security, or maybe your nephew's IT expertise from college. But you know what you're trying to protect, hopefully, and tools that you've seen and are protecting yourself. You know, we put on our antivirus, we put on a password on our wireless home network and everything else. But the one thing that we also have to be very cognizant of and aware is that security level you have to bring to the office. As IT professionals, you supply tools, you supply criteria as far as the methodologies of password changes and all of these tools that you will try to do it, but if an employee doesn't adhere to certain aspects of those tools, you could actually have then that being an area that is vulnerable. We'll go into that a little bit more as far as by using advanced authentication, you actually make it easier for your staff and your employees to be more secure on a day-to-day basis. The other thing that's really challenging nowadays is, you know, we all know the term BYOD, bring your own device. It's rampant in the workplace, especially on college campuses, high schools. Even you have things where if you're in the shopping mall, and I heard the other day, my daughter had said, hey, I was in this one store and I lost wireless access. How do you think that would be fixed, Dad? And I'm like, well, why? She goes, well, I'm not going to go back to that store if I lose access to the internet when I'm there. And I thought that was very interesting that we are so prone to having our devices and accessing everywhere we go that it puts challenges on businesses and governments and stuff who have open public networks to make sure they're secure. And the way to make sure they're secure with people they don't even know are using their network necessarily on a day-in, day-out basis is to make it easy to use. And that way, you really need, with that being said, you need to make sure that the method that you're using for authentication fits your needs and fits within your infrastructure. Like I said before, there's 14 different ways that I have done proof of concepts that I recommend within an environment for advanced authentication. It could be something that we've all seen, such as, you know, something looks like a credit card in a mag stripe that you swipe down to access a door. Or very common within businesses is for door access. You have your ID card, and you swipe that across the reader and it unlocks your door or opens up your garage or whatever. Those cards can also be used in the exact same way on a computer. Same with those mag stripes. Another thing that's becoming very popular is smartphone applications, which are OTP, one-time password, where your smartphone actually connects up onto your laptop, normally through a Bluetooth connection, and then it then pulls down a one-time 8-digit password that you put into your computer, and then it's gone. So it's not something you even have to remember. It's just something that you have to translate one time. And there's other options such as, you know, tokens. A lot of people are familiar with those. A few years ago, they were very popular. And also something like USB stuff or biometrics. Biometrics is good in very climate-controlled office or home-type settings. The one issue I have with that is on your current computer right now, sometimes you get a failure rate of about 5 to 10% in environments that have climate changes, and the size of your hand and the fingerprints expanding and retracting sometimes causes some issues. Other times, again, depending on your environment, it may be perfect because you're going to utilize something that's already on your computer. There are 3 C's that you have to recognize when choosing the authentication method that's best for you. Number 1 is compliance. Many industries have compliance methodologies that they have to adhere to, such as HIPAA, the protection of, you know, patient data, etc. CJIS, which is Criminal Justice Information Services, and also utilities have SIP, and with corporate you have SOX and PCI. A lot of times those will overlap within your business that you need to do. And the one thing that you are then your people are aware of that have to make sure that you are compliant is audits, creating roadmaps, creating methodologies that adhere to that. So with doing this, sometimes in utilizing what you currently have, such as an ID tag or anything else, and just putting a reader on there, you are then becoming compliant on the advanced authentication, and then you can roll that out into the end-to-end solution, network solution that's required for the entire compliancy within your network. And that's something that we do very, very well at CCB, is understanding those needs from start to finish. Anyone who's had to take a look at one of those manuals is looking at 150 to 300 pages with a lot of technology verbiage in it. And depending on your level of expertise within that compliance, we can really come in and help fill in any gaps that you may have to make sure that you're passed with flying colors. The other one is convenience. You want something that is, again, that is going to be easy to use. You want to make sure your staff has no issues with this saying, oh my gosh, it's another IT procedure that I have to learn and I need to go through. For instance, if one of these methodologies, and I keep going back to the name tags because I see that a lot, if your user didn't have to hit Control-Alt-Delete, put in a username, remember a password, change the password every 90 days, and do any of that, they could just swipe a card and put in a PIN number, such as, like an ATM number, and that would then be able to pass as their login. They'd be a lot more, I think, easier. They'd have a lot more ease of use for that. It isn't that the password goes away, but it's hidden and cached in the background, because advanced authentication, I'll say this a number of times, it's something that you have combined with something that you know. The something that you have is a piece of, like a badge or a token or a USB or, your mother's maiden name, something that you have that's personal, and something that you know, which is normally associated with a 4 to 8 digit numeric PIN. Those PINs do not have to be changed at the same rate as the passwords, but when the password needs to be changed in 90 days, it will bring itself up. You change the password, and it will then recache itself. So again, the convenience of having just one area. We'll talk about single sign-on, which will even make it more convenient in a few slides. And the other one is ROI, or cost reduction. This one, I'm being able to provide our customers more and more, because a lot of times, now with mobile devices, I have a customer that has 200 mobile care nursing staff that goes out to patients that aren't able to come to them but still live at home, and they have to record all of that patient data. In recording that patient data, obviously they now have to be HIPAA compliant to protect that data. The IT department, because of the different ranges of expertise within the staff, average about 20 phone calls a week to reset passwords. And those could be passwords for the software that they're running for the patient data, or just logging into their Microsoft tablet that they have. And in order to do that, it takes the nurses out of the field, have them be able to VPN, and have the people, the IT people, reset those passwords. By just having something that they can remotely do from a central console for those types of issues, or even allowing the user to be able to change their own PIN. Let's say they forgot their PIN number, but then they could go back and answer the favorite dog question. That would give them access to reset their PIN. Saves a lot of time on support. The other thing that you can do, again, as far as the cost reduction, is if you have mobile users such as squad cars, delivery trucks, everything else, to be able to log in and log out efficiently actually saves time. In fact, I've done a study where a normal login for a police officer for public safety is about 14 minutes with all of his passwords and getting up and going, and we can reduce that down to 3.5 minutes. Imagine how many times somebody within that profession is logging in, logging out every day. You really start saving money quickly. We talked about compliance before. I kind of want to go over a few of these. Again, if you don't have compliance needs necessarily that are documented and that you have to provide for, it's still something good to know, because what is going to help you for pass a HIPAA audit is also going to help the business owner or the nonprofit or the church or whatever be able to use these same types of efficiencies within their own environments. And what I mean for that is, again, we've talked about, leveraging employees' badges, being able to do desktop integration. And the one thing that's really good about this is a lot of times companies will try to protect their data by doing terminal services or a lot of integration with Citrix and RDS VMware to be able, so it's just a screenshot. People are not accessing and downloading data onto their device. It's just what they see into your environment. And a lot of these authentication methods integrate very well within that environment. So if you have vendors, let's say, that are coming in and are from a software company, and you still need to make sure you're compliant, you can control that security and if compliance from your location and not have to be sending authentication methods such as badges or USBs or anything else out to a vendor that you may not know which engineer is going to sign in that data to give you support. So healthcare is very important also because of the fact that it shows a lot of mobility, a lot of different locations within a building that people have to access different devices. You don't want to have that person be able to have different ways of logging in and logging off and protecting the data in each one of these locations. So ease of use is really key there. Then public safety. There is a big push. It's CJIS. It's an FBI mandate for criminal information services that touch our criminal database, background checking databases, basically our national database for criminal justice. Now, this isn't just police departments. It's anyone who touches that database. It could be a company that needs to do background checks on people, which is a regular corporate entity. It could be court systems. It could be a lot of different things that you're going to be doing. A lot of our nonprofits are finding that if they need to help in services, let's say that they help with mortgage services or job placement services or welfare recipients, they are touching data, possibly with background checks, to make sure that they can actually service this person and getting them a mortgage. You have to make sure that you are compliant and you're protecting your data. There's been a lot of things that I've seen on the news where somebody is doing those healthcare assessments for companies, governments. I know I've had it in other companies I've worked for, where they come in, they draw blood, they do a full assessment, they come back, a couple weeks later and tell you where you can improve on your health. All that information is stored on a laptop that person, that assessor, is coming in and out of. So you need to protect that type of data also. And you wouldn't think about that because, it's not really something that you would think that if they slowly just have your usernames up. No, in some cases, they have your life history on that laptop. We talked about the, CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information Services, but just also to go a little bit deeper with that, the criminal justice information is on you, any type of stolen property that either may have happened to you or just in general. It has a lot of databases on it as far as organizations or activities within gangs or whatever that you don't necessarily want the average person to get out, but again, it could be just with somebody who's just collecting data for insurance purposes. Not for a gang, but, for other things that are happening. Insurance, that if your car gets stolen or whatever, that you don't want that to be out to the public. reason for this slide is I just want to show you some of the complexity of what sometimes a compliance or an advanced authentication and end-to-end solution can look like. These are just some of the examples within the public safety area, and it shows the different policy numbers and the different areas. Advanced authentication is 5 pages normally out of, a compliance manual, and it can also be looked at then for a personal business owner or a nonprofit or a school district. That these are some of the same areas that you want to cover to have an end-to-end security solution. Having your password policies, your wireless, having a current network diagram so if something happens you can visibly see where they came in and what sections of your network are most likely going to be affected first, if not all. Very common, it's encryption, intrusion detection, malware, spyware, all of those terms we're used to, but what you really need to make sure of today is your 5-user system or 5,000. Again, like I said previously, not necessarily the hackers going after you, they kind of trip over you, so you're looked at all the same. So you have to make sure that if you're, the big guy, you still have to have the same processes, procedures, and software, hardware, whatever, to be able to protect yourself, just on a smaller scale, obviously. And the other thing is remote access. We talked about that as far as maybe with Citrix or VPNing in. A lot of our customers work from home partially, or even as I sometimes mistakenly do, check emails and voicemails and reply to stuff while on vacation. And if I can't get wireless access, going down and using the business office at a hotel, which is obviously not all that secure, most likely. But you need to have those types of policies. Also nowadays with Surface tablets and a lot of things that actually interact with your data, not just view it, have to be locked down on that side as well. So what are the available solutions? How can I really do this? We've talked about methodologies. We've talked about ease of use and as far as how it can integrate into your system. Well, what exactly am I trying to fix right now? First of all, it's, you're going to be looking at your Windows Logon. And what that is that's the Control-Alt-Delete that we all hear that is, the most insecure, unfortunately. It's also the best known for people to try to hack into because it's most likely on most devices or most screens today as far as a percentage, of Windows users compared to others. So what this does is in advanced authentication, what you're doing is you're inhibiting the boot process of the device. You are asking to put something that you have, something that you know, into that machine before it even goes and starts booting the operating system. So it stops a hacker before they can even get into it. Malware, spyware, all of those types of things, those will actually allow the operating system to boot up. So you might be able to track it, you might be able to stop it, but the hacker already has the first step into your system. So you want to stop that from happening. It's also, with the Windows Logon, by doing it, you can have the user protected. Maybe you have multiple sites, multiple companies. Work with customers that may have 5 corporations rolled into, or 5 companies rolled into a corporation. So there's separate logins, separate domains, separate DNSs, and internet access. It's ideal to be able to centrally manage those types of things for credentials. The next thing is shared workstation. We talked again about the Citrix VDI. It's very popular nowadays to give that type of access so that you're not letting people actually touch your hard data and download it onto their screens. They are viewing it. I see a lot of that in financial, in medical, and in legal as well, so that you're still in control of all of your data, and to be able to have people be able to go on whatever they have they can use to log on. And we're going to remote access. That's the BYOD again. So, advantages with that. We can be able to integrate into your current security methodologies. Let's say you have a Radius server, and those who have it know, it's for remote access. Gives you enhanced security for that. At the same time, you can have things that, like a one-time password that goes away, or an ID badge that you can actually use on a reader on your laptop that might be at your home when you're sitting there and not even in the office, but it requires your device to be authenticated before it's allowed to go onto the corporate network. Also want to mention that right now, for some of the remote access, those are free OTPs, one-time password applications. So again, a lot of the focus I keep saying is to integrate it into what you currently have today. You can really, a lot of people are like, wow, this is going to be a lot of infrastructure, it's going to be a lot of cost, a lot of those other things, and it's something that a lot of times you can use what you have, like your card, or a free app. Last thing I want to talk about is the single sign-on a little bit. Okay, being able to have your laptop being able to be used with the authentication method to sign on to that device on your laptop, on your tablet, on your PC. Well, what we can do today with single sign-on is to actually take a snapshot of you, the user, and be able to put that into groups whereby it also caches your email, or it caches your business-specific application that you run every day. On average, the normal user works with 6 to 8 applications. This allows you to securely be able to manage those, but not have to manage the multiple window password changes and all of the other things. And again, if you have an issue for IT, for troubleshooting, you're troubleshooting the advanced authentication one area, not 8 different areas with 8 different applications for access. So that's why we're saying it saves about 15 minutes per day on average for a user that has around 6 applications, and depending on your environment. That being said, we're going to wonder if there's any questions out there. Alicia's been taking notes off the Q&A section and is going to read some to me.
All right, it looks like we have just a few, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first question is, will this work in my virtual environment, or do I need to purchase new equipment?
Good question. I get that a lot. It works better on your virtual environment than it does on a physical environment. The authentication storage under that is just a database entry within it, most of the time a SQL database. So it's with those entries, it's just the authenticator's username and what methodology they're using, with like a serial number off of a card or something, and then the PIN number. So there's not a lot of storage needed. It signs you in and then immediately drops off, so it's not resident on your computer as far as constantly tracking. You're in and then you swipe it again and you're out. So it doesn't take a lot of memory on your server. So actually, to go out and buy a new server, another thing you would have to manage would actually not be cost effective. So 95% of my installations are in a virtual environment.
Good. The next one is, how expensive is something like this to implement in my environment? Very
open-ended question, but it's very valuable to ask because, again, as I was saying throughout the presentation, is that you can be able to be cost-effective utilizing what you already have today for the most cases. These are not greenfield installations where you're having to buy hardware and software and cards and readers and, re-imaging all of your devices. No. It integrates very well, and for the most part, we can normally with a couple of additions onto that, be able to provide that for, probably around $100 a user on average for an on-premise. And the one other thing that's really affordable is that we actually provide a hosted solution. So if you didn't have it in your capital budget, we can move it to an operation budget for about $7 a user per month, and we handle all the management of that. And the database is actually housed in a CGIS FBI compliant data center.
Great. Looks like we have one more. I have several locations. How does this affect my manageability of the users and things?
Makes it easier. If you have multiple domain controllers with multiple locations, again, back to maybe you have multiple companies where you have to have multiple domains, meaning different usernames and servers you're logging into. Advanced Authentication is on a single platform. So you use the same database. You can break it up into different companies or different locations within that, but it's still centralized, so you have one central point of contact that you need to go, and you can log into it. Again, using Advanced Authentication, you can go into it no matter where you're at.
Well, great. It looks like that's all the questions we had. I'm sure a lot of you are just taking this opportunity to kind of soak in the information, and you're going to have questions that come up down the road. And want to encourage you and invite you to feel free to contact John with any of those questions, either via email or by telephone. Both those options are listed right there on this screenshot and slide. So, again, feel free to reach out. John's happy to go ahead and discuss with you what this will look like for your environment. I want to thank you for joining us again. It's been a pleasure. I hope you guys have all taken away some valuable information and are able to have this be something that, we can start looking at to, if not an immediate need, but something in the near future that we need to all address and continue to look at. So, John, thank you. And, of course, our guests, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. Bye.